Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, Kenya's president reaffirms his country's controversial commitment to send 1,000 police officers to tackle gangs' stranglehold in Haiti. This comes despite an acknowledgement that there will have to be a delay following the Caribbean premier's resignation. Also, Rwanda upholds an election ban on opposition leader and government critic Victoire Ingabire. The fierce opponent of President Kagame spent 8 years in prison before receiving a pardon in 2018, but now cannot run in the July polls. And more kidnappings in Kaduna state in Nigeria this week ramps up fears in communities who feel authorities can do little to protect them. Meanwhile, the families of the 286 students and staff abducted just last week say gangs call demanding over 566,000 euros worth in ransom cash. But first, Kenya's President William Ruto has insisted that his country will still eventually lead a UN-backed multinational police force to help rein in rampant gang violence in the Caribbean nation of Haiti. The commitment is despite the delay of the deployment following the resignation of the Haitian Prime Minister this week. Kenya later acknowledged that Ariel Henry's resignation altered the situation on the ground, as there's no holding government to work with the mission just yet. Our Kenyan correspondent Olivia Bizo tells us more.
It's the latest chapter in the roller coaster saga. Kenya has said it will not send its security force to Haiti until a new government has been formed. Kenya's President William Ruto had initially made a deal to send 1,000 police officers to the Caribbean nation to help tackle violence over there. But that deal was made with Haiti's Prime Minister Ariel Henry, who on Monday said he would resign. Earlier today, we spoke to an expert who said that the mission will still go ahead, but just later than expected.
That was an agreement between, states as opposed to individuals. So we expect that the deployment will proceed at some point. But to expect a transition first before deployment, I think is going to be a wishful thought, in part because the circumstances on the ground are not even good enough to allow for a peaceful transition. And that is why some kind of a multinational force that is neutral is going to be needed.
So when did this whole idea of sending Kenyan police officers to the other side of the world, to Haiti, to help tackle gang violence and insecurity over there begin? Well, Haiti's government appealed for international support 2 years ago, and then in July last year, Kenya's President William Ruto offered his support by sending 1,000 Kenyan police officers to the Caribbean country. And that offer was approved by the UN Security Council a few months later in October. But the mission has been hugely criticised by a wide number of Kenyans, by the opposition and by human rights groups.
Bizo there for us. Now, Rwandan opposition figure Victoire Ingabire will not be able to participate in the upcoming presidential election on July 15th. After spending 8 years in prison, the main opponent was denied the restoration of her civil rights by judges in Kigali on Wednesday. And so she won't be able to challenge Paul Kagame in the summer ballot. On Saturday, the Rwandan president was designated by his party as the candidate for a fourth re-election. Clement Di Roma tells us more.
Rwandan opposition figure Victoire Ingabire won't be able to run in the upcoming presidential election on July 15th, since her civil rights haven't been restored by the judges of the High Court of Kigali. The president of this unregistered party, Dalfa Umurunzi, was sentenced in 2013 for conspiracy against the authorities and minimizing the genocide against the Tutsis. After 8 years in prison, she was released in 2018 through a presidential pardon, but remains deprived of certain rights. According to the judges, she does not meet the conditions to regain these rights. Ingabire has stated that this decision is a missed opportunity to establish a real democracy in Rwanda.
If we are in a state where there is no rule of law, do you believe that we can have free and transparent elections? Now this proves that the elections we will have will be exclusive, because if the opposition is always excluded because of the justice system, then these elections are not a sign of democracy. Usually, elections are a sign of democracy.
Victoire Ingabire said that she is considering appealing this decision. According to the opponent, 8 members of her party, DALFA, arrested in October 2021, are still imprisoned and awaiting trial. The election on July 15th would have been the first opportunity for Ingabire to run against President Paul Kagame, who was nominated as a candidate for a 4th term by his party, the RPF, last weekend. Facing him, the only declared candidate at the moment is Frank Abineza, head of the Green Party, the only authorized opposition political party in the country.
At least 32 women and 29 men have been reported as kidnapped in northwestern Nigeria. Gunmen reportedly went door to door, taking people from their homes in Tuesday's raid. The abductions from the village in Kaduna State's Kajuru district comes as security forces continue their search for 250 pupils taken last week from a school in Karuga village, which is in the same state. Troops are still searching forests for the missing students, but President Bola Tinubu's ordered security forces not to pay the over €566,000 ransom demanded for their release. The spate of mass kidnappings has undermined Nigerians' faith in the safety of their authorities and of their schools. Over 20 million children are out of education in the country. The Education Ministry has said that schools are being deliberately targeted by kidnapping gangs.
Unfortunately, what is happening within the country is not a conventional war. It is an insurgency which you cannot predict and always been targeted to soft spots. And unfortunately, soft spot in Nigeria happens to be educational institution.
Nigerian President Bola Tinubu's directed the opening of Nigeria's land and air borders with the neighbouring Niger and the lifting of other sanctions against the country with immediate effect. The move on Wednesday follows a decision from leaders of regional bloc ECOWAS at an emergency meeting in Abuja last month. Penalties levied against Mali, Burkina Faso and Guinea over their recent coups are also due to be lifted at some point. The opening of the borders with Niger, though, will have a big impact on the food crisis currently unrolling in Nigeria itself. That's where our Chinwe Asondo is. She brings us more from Lagos.
The immediate opening of the land and air borders with Niger Republic and the lifting of other sanctions comes in compliance with the decisions taken by the ECOWAS head of state in Abuja on February 24th. And also President Bola Ahmed Tinubu approved the lifting of the financial and economic sanctions against the Republic of Guinea. These approvals are very welcome as it will alleviate the level of food crisis both in Niger and Nigeria. Nigeria is suffering from food crisis partly because of the closure of the borders as the inflow of food items from Niger stopped, causing a hike in the prices of food items in the market, and this coupled with the high level of insecurity which has caused a disruption in the farmers' routine up north. The trade activities, especially in the northern part of Nigeria, is a major source of income. This decision simply restores the traders' livelihood. Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf of Kano State had earlier urged President Tinubu to open land borders to enhance food security in the country. Nigeria imported items worth over $33 million in 2022 from Niger, according to the United Nations Comtrade database. Niger has exported a variety of grains and livestock to Nigeria in particular. In the nearest future, these decisions should bear fruit, all things being equal.
Chinwe Asondo there for us. That's it for Eye on Africa for now, though. Thanks for joining us, and do so again if you can. Till then, take care.